They Came to Baghdad is a 1951 Christie novel featuring neither Poirot nor Miss Marple. It's kind of a one-off in the vein of like The Man in the Brown Suit. So we've got kind of an espionage, spy, thriller type novel. And of course, it takes place in Baghdad. So this is a post-war novel again, and really kind of moving into the Cold War. And it centers around a young woman named Victoria Jones. This is an interesting character. We have here, you could say she's a little bit similar to Anne Bedingfeld from The Man in the Brown Suit, but she's lower class. She's an East Ender, not a very good typist. She's a great liar. She's always telling lies. She does impressions really well. And she's just a bit uneducated, but very clever in her own way. She meets a young man in London at Charing Cross, falls instantly in love with him, finds out he's going off to Baghdad to do some work at this place called the Olive Branch, which is a kind of a publishing outfit where they take great works of literature and publish them in the Middle East. And so she gets this job as a lady's companion so that she can get fare out to Baghdad so she can be with this guy. And within the first few days of her being there, a man stumbles into her room and dies in her bed. He's been stabbed in the heart. And so Victoria becomes kind of just right in the middle of this whole spy thing going on. And it's a very interesting novel. Actually, this one I did a little bit of a hybrid situation. I got the novel as an audio book and listened to half of it, read half of it, and just kind of went back and forth whichever I had. And, you know, I'd been told that this would be a bit of a tough read, and this is my first time reading this one. I didn't mind it all that much. I actually thought for a thriller and an espionage one at that, usually not Christie's strong point. She had some pretty good characterization. Victoria Jones is a well-drawn-out character. Some of the minor characters, we have the proprietor of the T.O. Hotel, who's a very well-drawn character. Mr. Dakin, who Victoria comes to work for, is a very interesting dark horse type character who everyone thinks is this kind of wasted middle-aged alcoholic, who actually turns out to be quite a wise, active sort of character, working for the good guys. And then we have Catherine, who works at the Olive Branch, who's this young, very bitter sort of woman who just hates Victoria at first sight. A lot of interesting little characters. There are some literary references here. Some of the biggest ones, Shakespeare, there's a reference to Romeo and Juliet. Milton, there's a very strong reference to Paradise Lost. And Dickens is a reference to A Tale of Two Cities. And then we also have references to Karl Marx, because we're dealing with communism and some of the ideas about that are kind of cropping up during the Cold War. It's an interesting novel. I don't know that there's too much more to say about it, except that again, the location kind of helps this novel because it's very exotic. We're in Iraq at a time when you know, things are still unstable, but there's a lot of kind of travel mystique, and this is an area, an arena where Christie's very much at home because she has you know, because her second husband was an archaeologist living and working in the Near East, and kind of a Near East archaeologist, kind of an expert in his field. And so she was used to going into the souk and bargaining for things. She would know how to experience it both as a person going to the Middle East for the first time from England, as well as a seasoned expat living there. So she gets you get a lot of feel for local color, and I think she achieves that quite nicely in the novel. Still, by the time you get to the end, I think that some of the mystery, while interesting, is a bit predictable. I give this one 3.5 stars out of 5.